So the connection between our thoughts and our actions, our behavior. What's the connection? In theory, in an ideal situation, there would be a perfect link, a perfect overlap between how I think and how I act. It seems obvious almost. As I think, so I should act. And yet, as we all know, that overlap isn't nearly as complete as it should be. How many of us have taken pledges, promises to ourselves, to others, to God, that we are not going to get angry, that we're not going to lose our temper, that we are not going to give in to a certain temptation. And then we find ourselves angry, with a lost temper, in the midst of engaging in a certain behavior, certain addiction, certain temptation, that we pledge week after week, month after month, new year after new year, that we're going to not do. The reason for this is that in our brains, there's actually two parts. Well, there's more than two, but we'll speak just in general about two. What we'll call conscious and what we'll call unconscious. And again, of course, there are subtleties in both, but just on a broad level, we'll call them just two levels, conscious and unconscious. So which part of our brain is the one saying, Nahi gussa, nahi karungi? I won't get angry. Ya, main sharab nahi piyungi. Ya, main chocolate cake nahi khaungi. Or whatever pledges I'm making. Which part of my mind is it that's making those promises? Conscious, exactly. It's my conscious mind that understands getting angry is ruining my blood pressure, ruining my heart rate, and ruining my marriage. It's my conscious mind that understands whether it's too much chocolate cake, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's gambling, whatever my thing is, it's hurting my health, it's hurting my peace of mind. These are things our conscious mind understands. And yet, how many of us have ever made a conscious decision to have a temper tantrum? Anyone? Conscious decision. I know right now, on the count of 3, I'm going to have a temper tantrum. Never happens. We never say, okay, on the count of 3, I'm going to get really angry. On the count of 3, I'm going to say something that I'm going to really regret. On the count of 3, I'm going to lose my discipline, lose my self-control, have the junk, have the alcohol, have the drugs, gamble. Never happens. We find ourselves halfway through a temper tantrum before we say, oh my God, feared ho gaya. Not only didn't we make a conscious decision, but we weren't even conscious when it happened. And this is why this relationship isn't as strong or as linear as it should be. Because we're making decisions. Our vichar, when we talk about vichar, this is conscious. This is not the monkey mind. Our conscious thought and our unconscious actions. And so they tend to be too frequently like ships passing each other in the night, rather than like two overlaying aspects of the same being. So the answer, and this is what spiritual teachers of every religion, every faith have been telling us for such a long time in so many ways. Mindfulness, awareness, presence. Why? Because if I can be mindful in every moment, I actually won't find myself halfway through a temper tantrum, or a beer, or an affair, or losing half my money without knowing it. If I'm actually consciously mindful every second, then miraculously my whole life comes into my hands. And this is where the emphasis on mindfulness comes in. But it's very, very difficult. The problem is for most of us is we say, okay, chalo, मैं गुस्सा नहीं करूँगी. I'm going to become mindful of my anger. And we start, it's like taking a 5-year-old child who's just entering kindergarten, who has no idea about addition, and sticking him in a post-grad advanced calculus class and expecting him to figure it out. If we have no concept of mindfulness, of awareness, how can we throw ourselves in the deep end and expect that we're suddenly going to learn it? With our most primal emotions, with our deep-seated issues, complexes, addictions. That's why all of these teachings have us begin slowly. First, we're mindful of the breath. That's easy. If we just close our eyes, we can all bring a little bit of mindfulness to the breath, even with the eyes open. And then in a lot of the meditation courses, they'll have you do mindful walking, mindful eating, because these things tend to be not very emotionally charged. It's easy to be mindful of my walking. Easy to be mindful as I eat, especially if we're in silence. And slowly, 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 that mindfulness permeates my life. So that's the only way to bring this connection more and more. The other last quick piece about this is that we have to also recognize that we're not quite as logical. It's not just that we're not mindful, we're also not quite as logical as we'd like to think. So even though our conscious mind says, I won't get angry, or I won't engage in these behaviors, we have our vasanas, we have different desires, we have all these other voices in our head that say, oh, everybody's doing it, go ahead, it's not so bad, just this once, it's Saturday night, it's Tuesday morning, whatever our mort is. And so we rationalize it also. We come up with every possible excuse that we can to rationalize it. And this is where, again, awareness and mindfulness is so important. But then it's not just mindfulness from a witness standpoint. It's a much deeper, introspective mindfulness. This is when Puja Swamiji always encourages us every night before we sleep to have introspection. Because if we're not self-aware, then we don't know why we drink. We don't know why we're using drugs. We don't know why we're having affairs. We don't know why we're eating chocolate cake after chocolate cake, why we're getting so angry. It just keeps happening. And so we keep promising it won't happen. But if we don't know why it's happening, it's very, very difficult. And this is where introspection comes in. Self-awareness, self-mindfulness. And the last piece of this is that a really good technique is as we become mindful, so we're able to see the anger coming, we're able to see the urge coming, to just sit. Not to push it away, not to pretend it's not there, not to expect ourselves to be all full of loving kindness when actually we're furious. Not to push ourselves there yet, but just simply to say, okay, anger is there. And to sit and to close our eyes. And to watch the anger. Not expect it to transform into love. Not expect it to transform into peace, but understand that it's just a wave that comes and passes over us. And as we watch it happen, or as we watch an urge to act in a certain way happen, we're able to see it almost like in slow motion. Right now, it's such fast motion. They said you don't even know you've done it till you've done it. So at that point, we're hopeless. Neither we have control nor we have introspection. First, we bring in the mindfulness to enable us to slow down that speed enough that we're able to watch it in slow motion. I'm just about to lose my temper. I'm just about to drive to the bar. I'm just about whatever it is. We may not yet have the power not to do it, but at least what we're able to do is be so conscious as it's happening that as it unfolds, we're able to get a glimpse of what is the power that's making that happen. What is fueling my anger? If it's not my conscious mind, what is it? Who is that being inside me that yells, that lies, that cheats? I mean, most of us say things like, I don't know, that's not even me, right? I mean, we've all had those feelings. Who is that? And if we're going to merge Jekyll and Hyde, we at least have to understand who both of them are. We can't just expect that one of them will consume the other. We have to see them both. What is that unconsciousness fueling that action? And that's where the introspection comes in. And then slowly, 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 we're able to bring more awareness and then more control. And then dire, 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 they start overlapping.